Appeals to triviality and why censorship does matter. Despite the gaming journalists' claim that it totally doesn't, or that you simply just don't know what censorship is because it doesn't meet their arbitrary definition of censorship. So, Stellar Blade has been in the news quite a bit as of late, due to, well, not necessarily all the right reasons. On the one hand, apparently it is a very good game, to the point where even the gaming journalists are forced to admit as such, even though they must be dragged kicking and screaming to the conclusion, and usually with a paragraph or two where they clarify that hot, sexy women do make them very, very uncomfortable, but hey, the controls are good, so there's that. Sigh. But anyways, the game promised quite vociferously to release in an uncensored state for all regions and then failed to do so, with the game releasing an uncensored version and then immediately added on a day one patch that changed the appearance of a swimsuit costume to be more covering. Now, not by an enormous degree, and apparently the team has also declared that this was their intended vision for the costume in the end, but here's the thing, they are a Sony exclusive. Sony has been doing everything in their power to eradicate sexy from the video game space for quite some time now. And so when a video game developer famous for making sexy things says that, oh, this slight change was totally intentional and our final vision for the product, I really can't help but imagine a gun with a PlayStation logo on it pointed towards their heads. Anyways, this resulted in the petition Free Stellar Blade by Grummz, which now has 57,446 signatures. This was received rather negatively by the broader left, who not only sent him death threats, and at this point, if you're not on the left, then you pretty much collect death threats like Pokemon cards, but also a bounty. Which I admit that one's new. I'm sure it's happened before, but okie dokie then. It started at a $20,000 bounty, and the person issuing it recently doubled down to $30,000. And yeah, at this point, I think we've kind of elevated this beyond good old-fashioned jokey jokes on the internet, and maybe it is time that Twitter, and maybe even the FBI look into this a little bit. At the very least, Twitter, like, you're having people put out bounties on people on your platform. At the very least, look into it. But anywho, this then of course was covered by the mainstream journalists as well. Over 30,000 horny players vote to free Stellar Blade from censorship. Oh, those fetishists, those coom-addicted rightists. How dare they? Don't they know that this is no big deal? Oh, it's not a problem. It's not an issue, you see. It's just a tiny change. Oh, look at this. Am I understanding this correctly? Those weird coom-brained rightists. And you know what? Here's the thing. Animalize does not make a completely ridiculous point here. Sexy sword witches women to slightly less covered, or slightly more covered, more precisely, English. Okay, that is actually a relatively accurate depiction of the costume changes. However, what the reaction is not so accurate. Finally, a sexy video game, the woke mind virus must be seething. I am going to shit myself to death. Alright, this is where we get to appeals to triviality and why censorship matters now that I've given you the basic lowdown of the situation. This is an appeal to triviality by going, well, that's just a minor change, nothing's really changed, what's wrong with you? This isn't censorship, even as this is apparently a rather horny person whose own fetishes are not being targeted. He likes big buff naked men with lots of chest hair, and apparently furry comics as well, which he enjoys drawing, and once this was revealed, he decided to close his own account and protect his tweets. See, that, my friend, is what somebody coming after you for your preferred fetishes looks like. This has been happening to the rest of us for a very long time now. How does it feel? Do you like it? Do you enjoy it? Was that why you protected your account? No, because it turns out that back in the day when we had the idea of whatever you want to do in the bedroom is your business and I don't care, that was the ideal sense of existence. That was where we should have been. But instead, we had to start caring. Your side, the left, the progressives, the wokeists, needed to get in and start shaming people for liking sexy women. And now that it's being turned back and gone against you, it's a problem. That's the issue with the appeal to triviality. It's like, oh, well, I don't care about this. Well, everybody else does. And we can also demonstrate that this is censorship because we've seen this previously. The slippery slope is not only real in this case, it is demonstrably documentable. Old school Tomb Raider, Lara Croft at her most buxom. New Tomb Raider, woman, boy, woman, boy. The difference is rather obvious, and we could go on at length, of course, in relations to video gaming. Hell, I literally did a video on this a couple days ago with Thorn 2024 is a crack whore, and Thorn from 1999 is a hot goth chick. This is not some sort of large-scale delusion. They absolutely are coming for hot video game characters and have been for a few decades now. This is demonstrable. This is provable. It is going on right now, as in within this goddamn week it is happening. And again, when somebody starts shaming you for your fetishes, you have a problem with it. This is why the appeal to triviality is nothing more than a simple weapon. The intent is to look at something like this and go, what? You like sexy women, you little horny pervert? You disgusting little horny person? How dare you like this thing? That is the intent, what they are doing here. It is an attempt to shame you out of your position and trivialize it. Why do you care? It's not like it's happening with a little bit of gaslight on the side. It should be rejected completely and utterly, and even better, it should be turned immediately back on them again, because they don't like it very much when it happens to them. As I have argued for years now, the only way to get a progressive to understand that what they are doing is incorrect is to apply their standards to them. Because, see, these people aren't moral philosophers. They have no understanding why they are doing is bad. They literally don't know. They actually genuinely do not understand. They are incapable of seeing their own gatekeeping whilst aggressively attacking yours. And this is partially due to, well, fantastically low IQ, and also simply due to the fact that they have never thought about their position. They have never for an instant critically looked at their own situation, their own ideas, and thought, hold on, why am I doing the exact same thing that I'm attacking somebody else for? Doesn't that make me a horrible person? Yes, it does. And when you eventually wake up, well, that's the beauty of it as well. You can't really ever realize that because the human ego is designed around the idea that you are not a terrible person. And thus, when you begin to realize that you are probably the bad guy, you are going to do everything in your power to reject that notion. And as for the censorship, again, you cannot make it any more blatant than it has been made over years and years now. There is unquestionably a war on attractive characters going on right now. And thus, even a minute change, even a tiny change, censorship is still censorship, and we know where the end goal is. We understand why this is happening. It is not some isolated incident where you can have it seem it happening in a vacuum, where this is the only thing that happens and nothing else is happening. We know what this is. This is the slippery slope. We can demonstrate it. We can draw it out for you. We can illustrate it. We have already seen it happening, so why on God's good green earth should we assume that when we see it happening again, it isn't the same thing? Censorship matters. Appeals to triviality are not a defense of censorship. This is not even an argument for the change. It is simply just an attempt to shame you and make you drop the point. And again, not out of any understanding of what the actual end goal is. Once more, this is absolutely a person who quite enjoys his own fetishes, but out of a general idea of my fetish good, your fetish bad. It is part of the woke mind virus, unironically, that has programmed a generation of NPCs to see the world as us versus them, without the ability to critically judge that thought. Which is why, yes, it is important that Stellar Blade retract its step and release the actual full costume as well. Even if you don't change the old one, release the one as a variety pack. Patch it in. If it really is no big deal and Sony isn't stepping on your neck over this, then just add it back in again. There will be no negative consequences for doing so. What? If it truly is so irrelevant after all, then one more sexy costume will not hurt the progressives, even though of course we know that it will. And for the game developer's sake, this is the easiest win imaginable. You could get 57,000 people on board by simply patching in a swimsuit. So unless there is actually some genuine duress, it should be a simple solution. But again, why would we assume such a thing when we know that the opposite is most likely? But yes, censorship matters. Appeals to triviality does not matter. Until next time, I have been Arch. Thank you very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Have a good day.